It is dark. You can no longer see where the firelight ends and the night begins. Something is moving out past the trees, slow and heavy, and every nerve in your body is delivering one ancient instruction at once. Do not move. Do not breathe. Do not be seen. You are not the hunter here. You are the hunted. For most of human history, this was not a nightmare. This was an ordinary night. You have been taught a flattering story about your ancestors. The fearless hunter, the spear thrower, the top of the food chain who walked the plains and made every other animal afraid. It is a good story. It is also, for most of our existence, completely wrong. For millions of years, your ancestors were not the deadliest thing in the landscape. They were a slow, soft, clawless, weak-jawed primate walking through a world stacked with animals that were faster, stronger, and hungrier than them. They had no fur to hide in, no fangs to fight back with, no speed to outrun anything that mattered. By every measure that usually decides who lives and who dies in nature, your ancestors should have lost. So how are you here? To answer that, you have to start in a cave in South Africa called Swartkrans. In the 1970s and 80s, a paleontologist named C.K. Brain spent years sifting through the bones piled inside it. Brain was studying a simple question that turned out to be enormous. Who was eating whom? The cave was full of broken hominin bones, the bones of early human relatives, and the easy assumption was that these early humans had been living there, dragging their kills home like proud hunters. Brain found the opposite. The bones were not the remains of meals our ancestors had eaten. They were the remains of our ancestors being eaten. One skull, catalogued as SK54, told the whole story in two small holes. Two clean punctures in the back of the cranium, spaced exactly the width of a leopard's lower canine teeth. This was not a human who had killed a leopard. This was a leopard that had killed a human, carried it up into a tree, and let the bones drop into the cave below. Brain titled his book about all this, The Hunters or the Hunted. The answer, for most of our story, was the hunted, and it gets older than that. Go back to 1924, to a fossilized child's skull pulled from a quarry at Taung, studied by the anatomist Raymond Dart. For decades, nobody could quite explain the strange damage around its eye sockets. Then, in the 1990s, the researcher Berger noticed something. The marks matched the talons of a large bird of prey. The Taung Child, a small early human, had likely been snatched and killed by an eagle, the same way eagles still take monkeys today. Sit with that for a moment. Your distant ancestors were small enough to be carried off by a bird. This is the picture that two researchers, Donna Hart and Robert Sussman, laid out in a body of work they called Man the Hunted. Their argument was simple and uncomfortable. The defining experience of early human life was not hunting. It was being prey. Leopards, lions, hyenas, saber-toothed cats, crocodiles in the water, and eagles in the sky. For most of our existence, your ancestors lived their entire lives inside the territory of animals that could end them in seconds. So picture that life honestly. The sun is going down. You have no walls, no door, no weapon that can reliably stop a 400-pound cat. You are a small, soft animal in the open, and the most dangerous hours of your entire day are about to begin. The dark is not a metaphor for fear. The dark is when the things that eat you can see, and you cannot. How do you survive a night like that? Every night, for hundreds of thousands of years. You do not survive it with claws. You survive it with each other. This is the twist the bones point toward, and it is the most important thing this video will tell you. Your ancestors did not beat the predators by becoming stronger predators. They survived by becoming something no other animal on Earth had ever been. They became a group that could think together, watch together, and act as one body made of many. Start with the simplest weapon you have. Eyes. A single human alone in the dark is blind and doomed. But 20 humans sitting in a ring facing outward are something else entirely. There is always someone awake. Always someone watching a different patch of darkness. A predator hunts by ambush, by picking off the one that strays, the one that does not see it coming. A group that never stops watching takes that weapon away. You did not need to be faster than the leopard. You needed to be impossible to surprise. Then your ancestors found something that changed everything. Fire. The primatologist Richard Wrangham has spent his career arguing that fire did not just cook our food and grow our brains, though it did both. Fire also rewrote the rules of the night. Almost every large predator on Earth is instinctively afraid of flame. A campfire is a wall you can carry, a circle of light no lion wants to cross. For the first time, your ancestors could claim a space and say, "The dark stops here." Think about what that fire actually did. It pushed the predators back to the edge of the light, and in the safe circle it created, something new became possible. Your ancestors could sit. They could stay still. They could look at each other's faces instead of constantly scanning the dark. They could talk. The anthropologist Wiessner studied the conversations of the Juhuanzi people of the Kalahari and found that daytime talk was mostly practical, about resources and disputes. But the talk that happened at the fire at night was different. Stories, myths, the lives of distant people. The fire did not just keep the animals out, it built the inside of the human mind. But survival was not only defense. Eventually, your ancestors turned the tables, and here the story becomes almost unbelievable. Your ancestors could not outrun an antelope in a sprint. Almost nothing can. But two scientists, Dennis Bramble and Daniel Lieberman, published work showing that the human body is built, down to the tendons and sweat glands, for something stranger than speed: endurance. You are one of the only animals on Earth that can run for hours without overheating, because you sweat across your whole bare skin instead of panting. A four-legged animal covered in fur cannot do this. It must stop to cool down or it collapses. So your ancestors invented a hunt that used patience as a weapon. The persistence hunt. The researcher Louis Liebenberg ran across the Kalahari with sand hunters who still did this within living memory. You do not chase the animal. You follow it. You keep it moving in the heat of the day, never letting it rest, never letting it cool until its own body overheats and it can no longer stand. The prey is faster than you for 10 minutes. You are faster than it for 10 hours. Look at what this means. The exact same bodies that made you helpless against an ambush in the dark made you unstoppable in the long chase under the sun. Your weakness and your power were the same body, used at different times a day. Now here is the part that should stay with you. We like to think strength built humanity, that we rose because we were powerful. But the bones say the opposite. It was being weak that made us. It was the constant pressure of being prey that forced your ancestors to do the thing no claw or fang could ever do. To cooperate, to watch each other's backs, to gather around a light and become a single mind spread across many bodies. The lion did not need a tribe. It had teeth. You needed a tribe, because a tribe was the only set of teeth you would ever have. Fear did not break your ancestors. Fear assembled them. And that is not ancient history that you left behind. It is still running inside you, right now. Why do you feel safer with the lights on? Why does a dark hallway prickle the back of your neck when you logically know nothing is there? Why, when something frightens you, is your first instinct to find other people, to not be alone? That is not weakness. That is a 300,000-year-old survival program, still installed, still watching the dark for you. Why does a group of people gathered around a fire still feel like the safest place in the world? Why do you instinctively lower your voice and lean in when you tell a story at night? You are doing the exact thing that kept your ancestors alive. The fire, the circle, the faces, the story. You inherited the whole ritual, and you perform it without even knowing why. You were never the strongest animal. You were never the fastest. You survived the deadliest predators on Earth for one reason. You did not face them alone. It is dark. Something is moving out past the trees. But you are not alone in the firelight. You never were. And that is the only reason you are here to feel afraid of the dark at all.